be seen on camera, but other than that, he's not going to be fighting people on the internet.
A lot of the husbands do go there.
No, he's not going to go there.
I like it. I always said, and this, I really think I mean this. I'm not sure, but I think I do. If this wasn't my job, I'm not sure you would ever see. I literally think people would say, "What happened to him?" Because I personally see no point at all whatsoever to being on social media if it is not somehow directly or very closely directly tied to your job. Really, I think I would just.
I understand
never
that.
see me.
Yeah, I completely understand that.
It's a total business tool for me, and that's really, I'm kind of like you. Like, I don't really share, every now and then I'll be like, oh, here I am, and but it still kind of ties back to
it ties into the job.
Yeah,
right. It's part of the job.
That, I don't really post my person. I mean, I don't care. Like, you can ask me a question, I'll answer. I just am like, it's not the point of this Instagram page today.
You just having a private life outside of social media is very meaningful.
Yeah.
Like, it keeps you sane, it keeps you grounded. When there are people who put everything that happens to them, their relationship, their personal problems on social, you're going to lose your mind because you don't have any escape at the end of the day.
And I take it one step further. I really believe, those people that are just every post is look at like my hot husband. I'm like, you are not happy in your relationship.
No, you're miserable.
I'm sorry.
You're miserable.
I don't know any way else to analyze that, right?
I agree. I'm not into the look at us, we're so hot. Look at us. Yeah. I'm not into that.
If it's really a good thing in your life, you don't need people's approval.
You don't. I agree with you.
Right? What about, last season 13, I know we talked about that, we had Ebony and Leah, and, the fans cried out, we don't want to see, race, politics. We don't want to see any of this in Housewives. And, here we are, and the ratings were low, and now we've rebooted. Like, do you agree with that?
At the end of the day, though, we can't throw race sweep it under the rug. We do have issues in this country. It is what it is. There just so happens to be someone who is very outspoken about it, and race makes people very uncomfortable. And so when someone is uncomfortable, they want to turn the television off and look the other way, right? So I think there's nothing wrong with discussing it and having a respectful conversation about race. We all have our own different opinions. So if it was to come on our show and we need to discuss it, then so be it. But do I think that we need to constantly talk about it in every episode? No. Then I'm not. That's not what this show is about. We're not CNN.
Right. And do you agree, and I'm not saying this because I know her personally, but it's not about me. Like, do you agree with, like, the sentiment from, like, the fans where they're like, Ebony ruined Housewives. We didn't want to hear about any of this. This is why the whole thing imploded. This is why we do have a reboot, which everyone needs to watch because it is actually phenomenal, and people are going to love it. Trust me.
Thank you.
But do you agree with that sentiment that, like, Ebony ruined Housewives and the whole thing blew up and here we are with starting over?
How could we possibly blame one person for this franchise? It's obvious there was some turmoil or there were things going on already with ratings for them to even bring Ebony and Leah on, right? So to blame the entire franchise for one woman is insane to me. Also, we were going through a time where Black Lives Matter was a big deal. Like, this is a thing that needed to be discussed, and she discussed it. And she was discussing this with women who, let's be honest, at the end of the day, it was an all-white cast. And it is what it is. It's New York City. This is not what New York City looks like at all. There's no representation. There's no diversity. So Ebony came in and she shook shit up and people had their panties in a bunch. So no, I'm not going to blame this woman. I feel bad that everybody's blaming her for destroying season 13 or all of RHONY OG. It's just, it had its run.
I agree. Listen, and I know her very well in the real world. Just from doing this, we became friends. Like, that is authentically her. Like, to your point, like, there was no agenda that she had. Like, these are the things that she talks about in her daily life. This is Ebony. So if you want someone to be authentic, to your point, when the cameras are rolling, that was so. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more.
I think she was just educating people. I mean, I think it just, again, viewers were uncomfortable. And therefore they blamed her. That's how I personally feel.
I agree with you. Well, to your point, now you are part of a cast that is, we have our first Indian housewife in Jessel. I mean, I know, you are Afro-Latina, you're Puerto Rican, and you are Brazilian. We have Ubah from Somalia, who is, I just found out, cousins with Chanel Ayan from Dubai
amazing,
Housewives.
right?
Like, this is, so, I mean, that has to feel nice, because, like, yes, people who do not live in New York City, this is New York City.
It
100%.
This is what, we're a melting pot. This is what New York City looks like. I read one comment that was like, oh no, Bravo's too woke. What does that mean? Like, I don't understand what that means at all, because this is what we look like in New York. We don't care. We're like, this is a rainbow here. Whether you're orange, blue, green, gay, who cares? Like, this is just what we represent in New York City, and this is the norm. This is our norm. So for someone to say, oh my gosh, they're acting too woke. I didn't respond to the comment, but at the same time, it was kind of cringe for me, because this is how I grew up. I grew up in a melting pot where on Fridays, we had to bring in whatever our mom cooked from our background. So I would bring in rice and beans, my Russian friend would bring borscht, that was just the norm for us.
This really is New York.
This
right?
is New York City.
This is what you see walking around
Exactly.
the streets. And I think Bravo's just in general for other franchises has done a great job of representing. But I mean, especially in New York, this is truly, truly the reality of life here.
And it needs to represent that. And I think that Bravo did a really good job with it.
And even on the Upper East Side,
Yep.
I mean, times have changed, people. Like, this isn't Gossip Girl,
XOXO.
On this, it was such a good show. It was such a good show.
It was a great show. It was one of my favorite shows. It was a good show.
One of my favorite shows. I mean, did you just want to be Blair Waldorf or what? Because I did.
Every day. She wore these, like, silk pajama, like, nightgown that I was like, oh my gosh, how is it not wrinkled and messed up from being in the drawer all day? It made me steam my nightgowns after that.
I was like, I've had Dorota on this show, the actress who plays Dorota.
Oh my gosh.
Susanna. She was great. I'm like, I just want to talk about this for like an hour with you.
I love Gossip Girl.
So that's good. I mean, have you heard from Ebony, or have you heard from anyone else? Like, I mean, you said Heather Dubrow, Dorinda.
No, I've never heard from Ebony. I believe Ubah has, but no, not necessarily me.
Just to kind of say this advice.
I think everyone's just kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And the show hasn't really come out yet, and I know that it's like we haven't really gone hard with marketing until the last month or so. So I think everyone's just kind of wants to see who you are first.
Do you think, you mentioned some social media comments, people 2 years in, 5 years in, like you say your husband isn't going to, which I think that's really the best advice that I would give to anyone that's actually not. I mean, do you think you'll go down that road? I mean, because...
And get off social?
No, go down the road of like, you mentioned a comment you didn't respond to, like, oh, the